We can want something deeply. We can affirm it. We can visualize it. We can work really hard toward it and still find ourselves living the same emotional story again. You say you'll stop procrastinating, stop settling, stop choosing the same relationships, the same reactions, and yet here you are again. And it makes you wonder, what is wrong with me? Why can't I break this pattern? Those very questions have circled me for a very long time. So by the end of this video, I want you to see that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not unmotivated. You're not undisciplined. You're simply living from a subconscious identity that hasn't updated yet. So if you're ready to get started, take one breath with me here, and let's gently walk into this together. Most people, time and time again, think they're stuck in life because they lack motivation or that they lack discipline. But if motivation was the issue, you wouldn't keep recommitting to change. You wouldn't keep saying, "This time I'm ready," and meaning it. So you're not lacking motivation or discipline. You're running an old identity program. Every sabotaging pattern, every emotional loop, every familiar behavior is being chosen by a past version of you. Not the you you're becoming, not the you you're calling in, but the you that your nervous system still believes that you are. Because our subconscious mind doesn't prioritize our potential or our desires. It prioritizes what's familiar. So if chaos is familiar, you will create chaos. If self-doubt is familiar, you will indeed default to self-doubt. If emotional survival is familiar, you will keep making decisions based on survival. So when you begin stepping into the version of you who is grounded, expressive, creative, abundant, your old self panics. It whispers, wait, this isn't who we are. This isn't familiar. This isn't safe. And without realizing it, you slip back into that same old loop. Not because you're weak or missing something, but because your identity is trying to protect you. This is why change can actually feel impossible sometimes. You're asking the future you desire to blossom from the soil of an outdated self-concept. That identity that is keeping you stuck in life is calling the shots. It's running your life. So how do we know when that identity is still in charge? Because usually we're not always aware of it, but typically there are 3 clear signs. The first sign is that you keep making logical choices that don't quite feel right. You know this one. Something inside you whispers no, but your mind rationalizes a yes. You accept the job that drains you. You stay in that relationship that doesn't fit. You choose the path that looks stable, even though your body shrinks every time you think about it. This isn't logic. That's the identity that fears what authenticity might cost. Your mind is choosing the option that lets you stay as who you've always been, because your identity doesn't feel safe evolving. If you ever did something and then after the fact said to yourself, "Damn, I knew this was wrong from the beginning," that was your inner wisdom speaking and your old identity jetting in and overriding it. Another sign that your old identity might be running the show is that you wait for confidence before you take action. Think about that. You wait for confidence before you take action. You wait for crystal clear clarity, inspiration, certainty, the perfect conditions before you take the next step. But here's the thing most people mistaken about confidence. Confidence doesn't come first. It comes from stepping into the version of you who can hold the life you're calling in. Your old identity will always say, "Not yet, don't risk it, who do you think you are?" Because if you go ahead and take the next step, you threaten that old identity's existence. So if you're waiting for confidence, what you're really waiting for is safety. And you're asking for that safety from the very identity that is scared to change. That version of you will never feel ready, because being ready would mean stepping into a life it doesn't know how to survive in yet. So that very act of waiting for confidence becomes its own loop. The shift happens when you stop waiting for your past self to approve the future you're stepping into, and you take that step anyway, despite how uncomfortable it might be. And the third way your old identity might be keeping you stuck is that you keep outsourcing your wisdom, your clarity, your truth. And this one is subtle but powerful. When you're disconnected from your true, authentic identity, you outsource your clarity and what direction you should take. You ask everyone else what you should do. You look for frameworks. You see what other people are doing. You research. You do anything to avoid hearing your own inner guidance. Not because you lack intuition, but because your current identity doesn't trust your inner wisdom yet. When you don't trust yourself, confusion and overwhelm become like a shield. It becomes the boulder that keeps you paralyzed. It stops you from taking the required steps to embody a greater expression of yourself and make different choices. So ask yourself honestly, do I really not know what to do? Or am I afraid to honor the part of myself that already knows? So I invite you to consider, friends, that you're not repeating patterns in your life because you're not trying hard enough. You're repeating patterns because you're trying to create a new life from an identity built for an old one. Identity first, behavior second. This is why it could feel like nothing ever sticks. Because the moment your life begins to expand, your old identity pulls you back to what's familiar. Not because it's right, but because it's known. The nervous system prefers all the time what is familiar over what might be new and exciting and fun. So instead of asking, how do I stay motivated or how do I become more disciplined, start asking, who is the version of me who keeps choosing the same old, familiar, safe patterns? And am I willing to release that identity? Because identity shifts don't begin with the perfect plan or the most optimized set of habits. They begin with a single moment of honesty that says, I can't keep being this version of myself who keeps creating this. That one sentence can create more transformation than any strategy ever could. Remember, friends, identity shifting at its heart is not about becoming someone new. It's about retiring the version of you who keeps replaying the old story. When you stop performing the identity you've outgrown, you stop creating its patterns. And from there, you can make new choices. That's where freedom begins. That's where change manifests. So let's take a brief moment to anchor this in. You can keep your eyes open or closed, whatever feels comfortable for you right now. Take a slow inhale and a gentle exhale. Now gently ask yourself, what version of me has been making the decisions lately? What version of me has been making the decisions lately? The afraid one? The pleasing one? The overthinking one? Maybe the unworthy one? Whichever version it is, Just notice it. And now ask, who would I be if I no longer let that version of me choose? Who would I be if I no longer let that version choose? Don't search for an answer. Just feel the space that might open up. It's there. That space is there. Because the moment we ask that question, we allow our minds to open up to possibility, to consider a new way of being, one that is more aligned, more honest, and more free from the one you've been living from. This is how identity shifts, through presence and awareness. Beautiful. So as we close out this video, I invite you to consider again that you're not stuck. Instead, your identity is simply outdated from the one you are being called to step into. And the moment we stop letting the old identity choose, our entire reality can begin to shift around the person we've known deep down we've been meant to be. If this video resonated with you, drop that little moon emoji in the comments. That's our symbol today for I'm choosing from a higher identity. And tell me, what old identity have you been letting lead your life? And then declare in the comments what identity you are ready to step into now. This is your declaration for your new identity. Make it known. Thanks for watching today. I'll see you in the next video. Much love.